great to have you with us. For a few hours this weekend, we put aside our troubles and were united as millions watched with pure joy and excitement our favorite pastime, the NFL. First tonight, though, a sobering reality check and plenty for us to be concerned about as Russia prepares to possibly invade Ukraine. President Biden puts thousands of American troops on alert, a shift from what he has said in the past. So what does that mean for us? Also, your 401k went on a wild ride today and could be in for more. That is the pulse of America. There's perhaps one word that spooks financial markets and investors more than any other, and that word, uncertainty. And boy, do we have a world of it due to what's happening in Eastern Europe. The market saw wild swings today, due in large part to uncertainty over Russia. In that roller coaster ride today, the Dow at one point was down more than 1,000 points. All major indices actually finished slightly higher, but uncertainty reigns. Stocks are coming off their worst week since March 2020. In fact, the market is on pace for its worst month since then. Remember, that was the month the economy shut down due to COVID. So we're talking about serious losses here. The S&P and NASDAQ both 10% below their all-time highs. That's called a correction. The NASDAQ down nearly 13% just for the month. Now, granted, if you stayed in stocks for the past 2 years, you've done pretty well overall. A lot of experts say this is a normal belt tightening of sorts. Still, a conflict in Ukraine with U.S. troops possibly involved is the last thing markets want, especially when you consider other factors affecting stocks like inflation, COVID, the Federal Reserve raising interest rates due to the improving economy. All ahead of us tonight. And joining us, someone who watches the markets a lot closely, more closely than the rest of us do. The Cow Guy, Scott Shellady, is with us again. Scott, this was just stunning today. There was a huge loss, the huge comeback, almost like the football games we watched this weekend. So should we buckle our seatbelts for more of this, or can you talk us down here?
No, you're going to have more of it. And the reason why is because these conflicts aren't going to go away anytime soon. I think today's action, was largely based on the fact that we're going to continue with this tightening from the Fed. We're raising interest rates. Nobody knows how many times they're going to raise. There was a few people that came out over the weekend, or at least one significant economist that said maybe 8 interest rate hikes. So those types of things the market hates. The market doesn't like the conflict in the Ukraine, but I don't think that's as bad as what might be happening and the slowdown of our economy with all these interest rate hikes. So the market finally did start to come back because we did get out over our skis a little bit. We don't know anything yet. The FOMC is going to give us some guidance on Wednesday. So this was a lot of, a bunch of blue, but nothing. But that's the problem. That's the type of market we're going to be in. It's not going to go away because the two things I say, and I said all day today, number one, the conflict with Ukraine and Russia is not going away anytime soon. Right. And number two, even if we start raising interest rates, the Fed's going to have to wait and see how they work. So that's not going to go away anytime soon. Well, so the two biggest market worries are here to stay.
You can make that case, Scott, and I agree with you. But the fact is those were all in play when the market dropped 1,000 points, and they were still in play when it came back. So what happened?
Well, there's going to be folks that are looking for traders, investors, and speculators that are going to be looking for deals, right? Just like when your car goes on sale, you can't wait to snap it up, or a pair of jeans goes on sale, you can't wait to snap it up. There are folks out there that look at stocks like that, so they felt like they got a sale today, and so far they have. But with what we've seen as far as the performance over the last few weeks, this market is very nervous. And let me ask you a question. Yes, it did come back very strong, but is that the type of market you want to be involved with right now?
Well, that's a good question. I was going to ask you, what do people do who are looking at retirement soon? I mean, it might be a great opportunity to buy for some, but a lot of folks looking at this a little jittery.
If you don't have at least a 3-year or 2 to 3 year time frame right now, it's going to be very difficult. And for those folks that were wondering about, say, Biden and capital gains tax last year, especially with their Bitcoin gains and their stock gains. Mm-hmm.
Oh, we lost his signal there.
Careful. Why it's not good to pay that much attention to tax when you want to book some profits. So we have a lot of folks that said that. We don't want to pay capital gains. We're going to ride it. Well, your asset just declined considerably. So that's something to keep in mind, too.
All right. So explain what the correction means to the everyday investor who doesn't watch this like you do, Scott.
Well, first of all, stocks can also go down. They don't always have to go up, right? Folks need to get, so that a normal market has down days and up days, and hopefully by the end of the year, you'll have more up than down. That's okay. the only thing that I would say that investors have to be worried about is the velocity of the down. I mean, we were down over 1,000 points to close slightly higher on the day with no real news, right? This was just 100% emotion taking the market over. And then when we got done selling, some speculators and savvy investors felt like, hey, this is an opportunity, and they were able to take it all the way back up. But that's not a market that real investors want to be involved with. You want slow and steady wins the race. You don't want to see this volatility.
All right, Scott Shellady, market anchor for RFD TV. Your signal went out to pasture there for a little while, but we got you back, and we certainly got the message. Scott, it's good to see you. Take care.
All righty.
Meantime, as the world and the markets grapple with the possibility of war, NATO is sending warships and fighter jets to Eastern Europe, and the White House is preparing a plan to send as many as 8,500 troops to the region as well. Can it head off a Russian attack? Eugene Shashovsky is a global intelligence analyst now with the New Lines Institute. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer was a senior military intelligence officer as well. Two great voices on this. So let's start, Eugene, with you. I'm wondering, we're pulling our personnel out of Ukraine. We've now put 8,500 troops on alert, if you will, or on standby. What are we to make of all of this? Because it sure sounds like something is imminent.
Well, I think right now we're in the point where the U.S. and the West is trying to deter Russia from making that feared military invasion that so many are concerned about. We saw Russia build up its military forces over the past couple of weeks. Now the U.S. and NATO countries are showing support both for Ukraine, but also for frontline NATO countries that are close to what would be a potential conflict there. But I still think at this point, Russia is going to be very hesitant to make that formal military invasion of Ukraine, just because there's a lot of constraints, economic, security, and political. But, you know, it's Moscow, and there's a lot of things that they can do short of that military invasion. So the West is showing a deterrent signal and a show of force to Moscow.
Colonel, do you think this works? And on the troops, 8,500 of them on standby now, what does that say to you? What does that mean for the equation? Where would they go and what would they do?
So the destination is probably Poland and the Baltic states. Those are our closest allies. With that said, they're sending in the wrong troops. My information is, Joe, they're sending in the 82nd Airborne. 82nd Airborne, traditionally, light infantry does not do well against armor, and that's what Putin is planning to lead with. What we need to look at here is order of battle. And simply put, what they're doing now, what the Biden administration is doing now should have been done 6 months ago, followed up with a heavy armor deployment to Poland. Now, I'm not here, I don't want to encourage war. Don't take my words as being pro-war. I'm just saying if you want to set up a series of military deterrence, you have to do it in a way that's credible, timely, and effective. And this is, Joe, a day late, a dollar short. So I'm not sanguine on what's going on with the Biden response to this.
Eugene, the Soviets are demanding, among other things, that Washington guarantee Ukraine will not join NATO. What do you think is Putin waiting for, and what's his end game here?
Right. So I think, you know, the military moves need to be sort of lined up with what we're seeing in the diplomatic sphere. And we had Putin essentially make this list of security demands, which included, you know, the closed door essentially of NATO to Ukraine, and even pulling back, you know, NATO deployments back to 1997 levels. Now, the West has made clear that's not going to happen. And you could see that as potentially Russia putting forth some maximalist demands in the hopes of achieving some kind of compromise. The West has signaled that it would be willing to discuss things like arms control and limiting strategic weaponry and even the types of military exercises that they conduct. Russia has said that it's not interested in that, but this is a negotiation process. And before we actually see Russian tanks roll in, which I still think is not the most likely scenario, these kinds of moves are going to be at the table.
Let's say it does happen, Colonel. How would you see this playing out? Because I've seen some experts now wondering if this might actually bog Russia down over an area of land the U.S. essentially doesn't have a whole lot of strategic interest in.
Well, we don't, and that's the issue. And I agree that we need to be very careful strategically. But with that said, my information is the Russians are waiting for a hard freeze. That is to say, to use the troops and forces they now have arrayed around Ukraine. You need to have certain conditions met. Those conditions are expected to be met if you want to use heavy armor in those conditions towards mid-February. As a matter of fact, the date I was given for potential hard invasion, should they do it, is towards the 14th of February, because the conditions will be correct. My judgment is, if you want to deter this, you need to move forward to give something to Putin to actually push back against. For example, we have two nations who have actually signed up to join us, both Sweden and Finland want to join NATO. Yeah, so bring him in, because right now we're playing Putin's game. We got to get him off the game, his game, and get him back on one we control better. And the other issue, Joe, we talked about this before, Germany. Germany is completely dependent on Russian energy right now. And so I believe Putin does have a great deal of leverage against NATO that he may use. Look, let's face it, Germany's not going to accept turning off their energy in the middle of winter. And this is another thing that Putin is clearly banking on should he decide to do something more aggressive.
Eugene, I spent some time on the Institute's website today, and I know that your organization has actually gamed this out with a number of experts and factors, including how it might play out militarily, but more importantly, what's at stake for the U.S. and what we're willing to risk in there. In the end, what's your takeaway?
Well, I think the U.S. has made clear that they're not willing to send in troops directly into Ukraine in the event of a Russian invasion. But, at the same time, they're signaling a lot of different moves, both for the countries that are actually in NATO, that they will be supported because they fall under the Article 5 treaty, and sending the same message to Russia that, any move that it makes, it will be met with some kind of significant response, unlike what we saw maybe back in 2014.
All right. I know that article also went on to say that Russia has some other hybrid strategies, other things beyond Ukraine in ways many of us might not be expecting, at least right now. It's an interesting read from the New Lines Institute. That's Eugene Chashovsky, and also retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. Thanks for your voices tonight, both of you.
Thank you.
COVID has been going on a long time, and we're all tired of it. There's no doubt about that. Take a look. Protesters in the streets of Washington, D.C., calling for an end to vaccine requirements throughout the country. Basketball legend John Stockton has been banned from games at his alma mater, Gonzaga University, over his refusal to wear a face mask. As of today in Los Angeles, cloth masks without a nose wire are banned. But just last week, the Journal of the American Medical Association tweeted out that N95 masks don't reduce incidence of the flu any more than standard medical masks. Meantime, in Virginia, a group of schools there suing newly elected Governor Glenn Youngkin over his removal of mask mandates. Where in the world are we right now? Joining me to discuss and help make sense of all this COVID madness is Dr. Ron Elfenbein, emergency room physician and owner of First Call Medical Center. Doctor, it's good to see you again. So let's go back to Bill Maher for a minute. He also took aim at Dr. Fauci in an interview with Deadline.com, saying, quote, "Don't sit there in your white coat and tell me, just do what we say." Whoopi Goldberg clapped back and said, "How dare you be so flippant?" It seems to me like we have hit a point where we've all done what we think is necessary. You've either gotten the vaccination or you haven't. Is it time for us to all move on now? 2 years in, how's this gotten so muddled?
100%. Look, this is going to become a problem. It's not going to go away. And despite what people will tell you, the government and other officials, we are not going to beat this thing. It's not going to go away. This will live with us for eternity, just like the flu lives with us. Just like other, cold viruses will live with us, other upper respiratory illnesses live with us. We're going to have to learn to live with this. Look, we have a vaccine. We have 3 vaccines. We have, and there are multiple other vaccines, by the way, that are available in other countries. And we have treatments. We have oral treatments and we have intravenous treatments. It's time to just cut the cord and say we all got to live and move on with our lives, because we can treat it, we can prevent it to some extent. And we just have to live with it. So we should just accept that and move on. The quicker we do that, the better for everybody. And yes, there are people who need to be protected. But, the argument that, well, the elderly and the immunocompromised are at risk, but they're at risk for everything. They're at risk for RSV. They're at risk for influenza. Any upper respiratory tract infection, they're at risk for. So this is no different. We have treatments. We have the ability to vaccinate people. let's just move on and stop with the nonsense.
At the same time, doctor, and I understand all of that, but what I track, and it's really the only thing I track with all of this, and maybe it's wrong because I know more people put more faith in the hospitalization numbers, but I look at the deaths, and the deaths are back up to 2,000 a day, which is more than 700,000 a year. And I think that's a number that still gets a lot of people's attention. We're certainly not on the other end of this thing.
No, absolutely not. And we're not going to be on the other end of this thing. That's my point. I think we just have to accept the fact that this is going to be around. We're not going to beat it. We're not going to make it go away like we did, with smallpox. And this is something that we're just going to have to live with. And again, the quicker we make that determination and move on with our lives, the better. Yes, people are still going to die from it. Now, I think you extrapolated that data from a short period of time or across a year. I don't know that we can really do that. But yes, people are going to die from this, just like people die from influenza and other upper respiratory illnesses. But it's time to stop being afraid. It's time to stop, being so authoritarian about everything and implementing policies that make no sense whatsoever.
If we're on the other end of this particular peak next month, as Dr. Fauci has suggested, what does that mean, doctor? I mean, will these numbers then come down to a point where people aren't so obsessed and worried about how we react to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you look at the data throughout the country, each state is different. So I live in Maryland. In our state, we've seen the peak already. We're on the downslope to some extent of Omicron. And Maryland was one of the early adapters of Omicron, if you will. This area, the DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia, and now it's moving to other states. So, when you look at across the United States, we should be done with Omicron in the next few weeks, but each state is different. So each state will get its time at a different place. And if you look at the data from South Africa and other countries that have come before us, you see that that's exactly what happens. Omicron comes on very hard, goes straight up, and then straight back down again. And that's exactly what we've seen in Maryland and other states. And we should expect the rest of the country to be the same.
And does that get us closer to this herd immunity we've all heard so much about, which I can't believe we haven't hit yet, considering how many people are vaccinated and how many people have had it?
Yeah, I mean, we should be at herd immunity. If you look at statistically speaking, how many people exactly right have had COVID and have been vaccinated. We're well beyond it by now. So I think Omicron is sort of a new, it is obviously a variant of COVID, but it's sort of a new thing unto it itself. Now, the nice thing about Omicron is that it's mild in symptomatology for the most people, and it confers immunity to every other type of COVID that we've seen so far. So will there be another variant? I don't know. I'm sure there will be. But, I think that, yes, the answer is that we will be closer to herd immunity. And again, I think we're seeing that. Well,
we all hope so. Dr. Ron Elfenbein, again, it's good to see you, and we appreciate your insight tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you, too.
All right. As Virginia Governor Youngkin facing a new lawsuit now from schools over the reversal of mask mandates. Tomorrow, we're going to be joined by his lieutenant governor, Winsome Earl Sears, the state's first female lieutenant governor and the first immigrant to win statewide office in Virginia. Don't miss our interview with Lieutenant Governor Earl Sears. That's tomorrow night right here on the Donlon Report, 6 Eastern, 5 Central.
This was just not an attack on 3 brave officers. This was an attack on the city of New York.
New York City's new mayor fired up after the murder of a rookie police officer, just the latest New York City police officer shot on the job. Up next, 2 retired officers on what's different this time and the almost impossible job police face these days. Plus, the Supreme Court considers whether colleges should consider race in admissions. Is that fair? A lawsuit has been filed. It's going all the way to the Supreme Court. Won't colleges consider race anyway, with or without affirmative action? We'll talk about that up ahead.
Countless officers line the halls of this hallway after carrying him in and grieve for their brother. We're mourning and we're angry.
It is our city against the killers. This was an attack on the city of New York.
And we're angry because we've been here before. We're angry because we saw it coming. We're angry because we said it was going to happen and it happened again.
New York mourns the loss of an officer shot and killed in the line of duty Friday night. Officer Jason Rivera and his partner Wilbert Mora came under fire while responding to a domestic violence call in Harlem. Rivera, just 22 years old, was killed. Mora is fighting for his life in the hospital tonight. Police were not just under attack in the Big Apple. A Harris County deputy Corporal Charles Galloway was shot and killed during a traffic stop in Houston, Texas, yesterday morning. Joining me now for more on this violent wave, retired LAPD Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, and also retired homicide detective in New York. That's Bill Cannon. Bill, let's start with you because you're in the city there, and something that stood out to me. We just heard Patrick Lynch there a second ago. This shooting seemed different to me. I mean, the response to it. You have a new mayor and a new commissioner, and they were furious and fired up.
Yes, you know, a lot of the people, though, that are talking tough now were some of the same people that were talking defund the police 6 months ago. This is a horrendous situation. And these two officers did everything right, except they weren't given the correct information by the complainant, who should have told them that her son had been known to carry guns before. And had they known that, they maybe have either called for backup or approached this a little differently. And I'm not saying they did anything wrong, but the complainant in this incident didn't specify that her son was known to carry a gun, and he was a criminal.
Sergeant, you and I have talked about this before, but after traffic stops, which killed the Harris County Sheriff's officer, the next thing that is probably the diciest and the most challenging and perhaps unpredictable are these domestic violence cases as well.
Absolutely, and I think it's very important.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cheryl, that was for you.
Yeah, no worries. Absolutely, and it's very important, I think, that police agencies beef up the training that officers are receiving when they respond to these kinds of calls. We play like we practice, and those calls are very dangerous. I think certainly the communications dispatchers need to do a better job in trying to get information from callers with regards to, is the person armed? Have they been known to have a proclivity towards violence? Have they been uttering anti-police sentiment, as we know was the case in the New York police officer shooting? And so there are many things that we can all do collectively to try to ensure that our officers are safe when they respond to these types of calls.
Let's listen to what the president said about police funding, Bill, to your point, and what we're asking of our police departments. Here's some of what he said.
We shouldn't be cutting funding for police departments. I propose increasing funding. Look, you know, we ask cops to do everything, including be psychologists and social workers. Guess what? They need psychologists and social workers.
Detective, it seems like the pendulum is swinging back now, to your point. This whole idea of police reform, which a lot of people want, seems to be in flux. People also want to feel safe.
You know, everyone is for police reform and for criminal justice reform. However, there has to be some common sense. And in New York City, they've had this bail reform thing that is just outrageous. And they've actually bailed people who have been arrested multiple times for carrying a firearm. There was one individual that was bailed 5 times. That's outrageous. That's so not smart. And also, the politicians in New York have been known to be anti-police. The city council instituted this thing called the diaphragm law last year, which was totally outrageous. And they did that without consulting anyone in law enforcement in regards to, did this make any sense? And it made no sense at all. Thank God a judge reversed it.
Sergeant, I couldn't help but see this and hear this over the weekend and wonder what police can do about it. Are we asking too much of the police? In other words, what are they supposed to do about this?
A lot of this is inherent to police work, and we just have to be mindful, and training is an important part of that. Complacency kills. We respond to these types of calls over and over, day in and day out. And so it's imperative that officers understand that these are the types of situations that can get you hurt, and have a plan A and a plan B just in case things go sideways. I think it's always better to have more officers on scene, and I wouldn't be opposed to any of my officers asking for backup when ordinarily they wouldn't.
Detective, you mentioned this about some of the reactions from the past, and this is also getting a lot of play in New York as well. There was a councilman there saying just 2 weeks ago, NYPD is still the biggest gang in New York City. And then after the shooting saying, I stand with the families of the fallen. I don't know, Bill, but this rookie who was killed joined to make a difference. And this is the kind of recruit you want to see and even clone.
Look, these young cops were heroes in every sense of the word. You know, This could happen to veteran cops also. And, you know, the sergeant I echo her sentiments. Training is a great thing. And cops love to go to training. However, when politicians talk about training, they really don't mean it, because it costs a lot of money to train cops and to send them to training. Because when you send cops to training, they're off the road. They're not on patrol. So it costs a lot of money. So they say that when something goes wrong, but they really don't mean it. And I know that from 27 years on the NYPD. They talk a lot, they talk a good story, but when it comes down to it, they really don't mean it.
Sergeant, where do we start with this? I mean, there were several cities that set homicide records. I just couldn't help but wonder about how we revered first responders not too long ago, called them our finest. Do you think that's still the case?
Well, in certain segments, I think, of society, there's certainly an anti-police sentiment, and so we can't pretend that doesn't exist. I think, community-based policing was something that worked very well here on the Los Angeles Police Department. I think you need to build the bridge that's between, the gap that's between community police. I think officers need to have a sense of, I know you, you know me, I trust you, and you can trust me when they respond to these radio calls, because many departments don't have the benefit of backup, and you need to know that the community is supporting you in your endeavors to provide quality of life issues and keep them safe.
Well, we know that departments across the country are struggling right now with retirements and resignations. Some cities are down hundreds of officers. They're struggling to recruit, and we know they have a difficult job. And Detective, we know your city's hurting after what happened there over the weekend. We appreciate you both coming on. It's always good to see retired LAPD Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey and retired NYPD Homicide Detective Bill Cannon. Thanks for your time, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Shifting gears now to a case before the Supreme Court challenging affirmative action in colleges. The court agreed today to reconsider race-based affirmative action in college admissions, which has greatly helped boost the admissions chances for traditionally disadvantaged racial minorities. Like many things, this boils down to fairness for a lot of people. Joining me now for more on this, constitutional attorney Andrew Lieb. So, Andrew, explain this to me, what they're asking for, because right now colleges admit that they do use race at least as a part of the application process, do they not?
You know, I think the end that you just said is what the truth is. They use it as a factor plus. That's actually from a Supreme Court case called Bakey, which was reaffirmed in Grutter and then as recently as 2016 heard in Fisher. But let's talk about what it's really about. People feel like there's reverse discrimination going on, meaning I'm not getting in because of my race. Now, what Bakey says, Joe, and I need to be clear about this, is quotas are not allowed. That's what you and I think about when we think about affirmative action. They're not allowed to do quotas. The case before us, though, is saying, hey, can they even consider race as a factor? Right. Or do we have to, instead of doing race-conscious admissions, do race-blind admissions?
Well, how do we even know, though, Andrew? I mean, because if you don't get accepted, you don't get accepted. And let's just say the university says, listen, we have 10 students here who on paper are essentially the same. What does this boil down to? And if race is a factor, you don't ever know that, do you?
So you and I as an individual, if we were applying, wouldn't know.
Right.
But when these cases come about, like Students for Fair Admission, they're suing right now. They're suing both Harvard and UNC. And in those cases, in what's called discovery, we find out a lot of facts. And you can look back to 1978, where this was first addressed, and a judge named Justice Powell went into great detail explaining it. And really what I think the misunderstanding is, and I want to make sure everyone gets this, is we're not trying to rectify a past wrong, which is what we really think about when we say affirmative action. What Justice Powell said is that the whole compelling government interest is having a diverse student body is better for robust interchange of ideas and education. Now, whether the current systems on how they do admissions are doing it right or wrong is a whole nother conversation. But is there a compelling government interest? Clearly there is.
Yeah, well, how does this change if it's overturned, Andrew, from these colleges that now many of whom are not even using SAT scores and are really just using some of these other factors to decide who gets in?
You just said it right, Joe. So it's about which factors are said to start off with. It has to be a soft factor, and that's what we learned in that precedent from Bakey. We learned that we have to have a soft factor, and they said, hey, you don't need to have a lottery. It doesn't need to be race blind. But here's the most interesting thing. Back in 1978, a quote in the Supreme Court cases, they said, hey, you can't have race be a factor forever. I'm paraphrasing. They said, but hopefully in 25 years, and this was 1978,
right,
hopefully in 25 years, race will no longer be relevant as a factor. So the Supreme Court that allowed race to be a factor also predicted it being overturned. So I need to point out that back in 2016, when it was last upheld using race as a factor, it was a 4-3 court with liberals taking the lead. We're greatly expecting this to overturn race being a factor.
Right.
But Joe, it's not just in education. We're going to see this in employment as well, because reverse discrimination is the major argument of our times if you watch any program such as yours.
Very interesting. I was going to ask you what you thought was ahead, but we'll find out. We're going to have to wait, though, because as I understand, we're not expecting a decision until the end of next year. But Andrew Lieb, constitutional attorney, great to have you with us tonight. Thanks for explaining this.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
A Connecticut family claims police failed to properly investigate the mysterious death of their loved one. Why they say the handling of the case was racially insensitive. That's tonight on NewsNation Prime, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. And did you catch this from earlier today?
Will you take questions on inflation then?
Thank you. Thank you
Do you
all.
think inflation is a political liability?
That's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son.
Well, Vitter joins us now. Before we get to what you're doing tonight, I think you saw this. If not, we're going to show it to you now.
Will you take questions on inflation then?
Thank you. Thank you
Do you
all.
think inflation is a political liability?
That's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son.
All right, he was apparently talking about Fox's Peter Ducey, who was a friend of yours.
Good friend of mine.
And I bet Ducey's laughing as well, right?
He was on air a couple of minutes ago. Kudos to him. Look, cable news is a full contact sport, right? And as is Washington. This really probably says more about the state of the Biden presidency than anything else, and maybe also the state of the media, because we can just imagine if Donald Trump had said that about Jim Acosta of CNN.
I'm sure he has.
Well, but not on a hot mic.
No, on a live mic, probably.
So it'd be interesting to see what the reaction will be over the next day. If there's sort of the anger from Morning Joe tomorrow and from CNN about the loss of civility and that it's beneath the office and on and on and on. Kudos, though, to President Biden. Give credit where it's due. The last time he had a situation like this, he snapped at Caitlin Collins over in Geneva.
Yeah, I remember that.
Over Geneva, and he came over and apologized to her.
Right.
So this is, Biden, shall we say, Biden has been known to have wild pitches in the past. So the fact that it's taken this long, a year, to be caught on a hot mic saying something like this may be the biggest surprise.
What else do you have?
We're talking about this. We're talking a little more about the NFL in terms of how they were able to change their image. And then we're starting about when will we be able to say COVID's over? Everyone's talking about what's happening with COVID. No one's telling us how we're going to get out of this thing.
Yeah, where the exit is, the exit ramp. All right, that's the top of the hour. It's called On Balance. We talk about dogs and maybe the tricks your dog can do. How about sniff out a record amount of illegal fentanyl? That's our American Snapshot next. And to our viewers out there, we want to thank you for making NewsNation the fastest growing cable news network in the country. We appreciate it, and we'll be right back. All right, for our American Snapshot tonight, a prolific dog with an important job in Fresno, California. California Highway Patrol's canine officer, Benny, helped uncover the largest fentanyl bust in the history of California's Central Valley last week. Highway Patrol officials say they stopped a vehicle for speeding. Officers noticed, quote, suspicious factors that led them to believe the vehicle might be involved in some criminal activity. So the cops brought in Benny, and he did the rest. He sniffed it down, alerted his partner. A search of the vehicle led to the discovery of 75 pounds of counterfeit oxycodone pills believed to contain fentanyl. Street value of those pills, about $3 million. Thanks to Benny, the Belgian Malinois Shepherd, the deadly drugs will never make their way to the streets. Man's best friend, certainly not the smuggler's best friend, at least that. Look at Benny, big smile right there. You can see he's proud, and he should be. Hooch would certainly be proud, we know that. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us on the Donlon Report. Stand by, On Balance with Leland, next. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.